Alright, and just want to make sure everything is as it should be. Okay, here we go. Alright, awesome. Hey everyone. It's Bharti Carla, and it's our week where we're looking at Better Me, Better We, the power of everyday choices, and how that can really lead to greater change. So it's evening here now, and I wanted to share with you just the concept of and the importance of evening transition. Transition times they're really special. They can be an absolute a space that feels uncomfortable because something has to end, something else has to begin. I was doing this thing that I like doing, whether I was watching TV, I was doing some work, I was reading, and I've got to shift into something else. It can create discomfort, especially if a nervous system has been dealing with a lot of stress. Transitions can feel really unwelcome because that's our five basic senses there that have to take all the input, process that, and then have us end up in a place where we're hopefully okay again. That's a lot to ask for if our nervous system has been doing that all day long in different ways because of the thoughts that ruminate in the mind, because of the ways in which we're trying to express ourselves and maybe having trouble doing so, leading to the choices that we make about how often we eat and all of these. It can be a huge daily struggle. I experience it myself, and I help others to do the same, where they can just find a place where one choice at a time really does make a difference. So this one choice and this one space that I wanted to get into tonight is this transitioning into the evening space. So for me, one of the things that really helps, because it can be really hard for me to stop doing what I'm doing once I get engaged. Now, funny enough, being a Gemini, it's also really easy for me to get distracted with many things. So how do I manage to stick to an evening routine? It's gotta have some sweet stuff in it. And it doesn't have to like literally be sweet, but it's gotta be things that feel yummy to you. It has to be things that you look forward to. One of the first things I do, and I had to make sure that I had this before we even started, is my cup of cacao. This, to me, signals that there's good stuff coming. And no matter what I have to deal with, no matter what it feels like, I got my cacao. It's all going to be good. So, pardon me while I take a sip. Yep, that's my sense of taste. And of course, my sense of smell telling me that, hey, whatever's going on, we're going to be fine here. That's a really important message for us to give ourselves, especially when we're heading into sleep, when we're heading into what's supposed to be rest, digest, restorative time. We're not sending those kinds of messages to ourselves. We're going to end up having this physiology that thinks it's still in survival mode. I still got to be ready for Lord knows what, fill in the blank. I've still got to be on the defense. I've got to be worried about something. So we take the time to create this conversation. It's like a multi-sensory conversation with ourselves. So smelling my cacao, I'm taking a sip. Okay. I call this next phase making peace. I've got to make peace with what I've actually gotten done in the day and what I haven't gotten done in the day. Time and space, this amazing construct, it is a construct. Time and space is finite. We have decided and we've agreed upon that there are 24 hours in a day, and there's 7 days in a week. Whatever the measurements are, there's a finite amount of time. And so that means there's only ever the ability to get but so much done. We find a way to just make peace with what we actually got done. That also sets a tone of, okay, the effort that I put forth was meaningful. Like it meant something. I may have wanted to do this much. I got to this much. But I can let myself feel really good about that because that's more than was done previously. That's a really super important thing again. Messaging for the nervous system. What you've spent your energy on today was worth it, was worthy. It's an accomplishment. So for me, part of that making peace practice, I'm practically wedded to my Google Calendar. Like, I don't know what's going on for the most part unless I check in there on a daily basis. And so what I do is if there are things that are tasks or anything like that, reminders that I didn't get to, I move them over to another part of the week. Maybe it's the next day, depending on what it is. It might be later in the week. It might be the next week. I can also take a look and say, is there something here that I can actually pass off? Is this something that's better done by someone else? So I might just take care of it that way. But in that making peace process, this is where I say what I've done is excellent. What I was able to get to is meaningful. I spent my time in a meaningful way. And what I didn't get to, I'm going to make a plan as to how I'm going to then deal with that. So be sure there's something sweet in your evening routine, whatever that is for you. Find a way to make peace with what you got done and what you didn't get done. And then for me, it's all about frequency. So it's frequency in terms of like sound tonics. I use a couple different programs to just help set my brain waves into a place that's just more conducive for actual rest and rejuvenation. So that's super, super important. It gives me great quality of sleep. And it keeps me in this sleep cycle that allows me to rise very, like at a time when my body feels ready to wake up. And that's really super important. So I use frequency of sound tones. I don't really mention name brands like publicly, but you guys who work with me already know what we use, and anyone who wants to know, you can always just message me. I'll happily let you know. The other way I bring frequency into my space is with mantra. Man meaning mind, and tra as in direction. So mantra is literally directing the mind, the power, the energy, the capacity of the mind. So I use mantras as a really important part of transitioning from different phases throughout the day. In this particular case, that evening time into the sleep time. There's so many beautiful mantras, different languages. Many of them we're familiar with happen to be in either Sanskrit, in Hindi, or in Gurmukhi. I personally use a lot of the Gurmukhi because of my Kriya Yoga and Learning Yoga practices. I encourage you to explore. I encourage you to take the time to see what mantras really just kind of hit the mark for you. And the funny thing is, because we're talking about frequency of sound, the energy that's in that frequency, we don't even necessarily have to have an actual translation of the mantra. it's kind of nice, the mind gets to pay attention to that. Like, that's helpful. It's definitely not necessary. You may have already even heard some mantra somewhere and just been like, what was that? That totally took me away. If you haven't had that experience, I encourage you just to explore whether it's like, one of these streaming programs, anything like this that allows you to just browse music. Look up Gurumukhi mantras, okay? And you'll find some there. I wanted to share with you one, maybe two actually. See how the time goes and how things flow. That I have a playlist that's like my evening mantras, and actually will be inviting folks to join me in my evening rituals every so often, because it's just a cool thing. It's a wonderful thing to share and experience. So let's see what really stands out. Dun dun Ram Das Guru. Okay. Let's do a little bit of Dan Ram Das Guru. And I want you to just let yourself kind of listen and absorb and just see how that goes for you. And actually, before I even go there, let me give you a resource where this will work. I'm going to share my screen on my phone, so I think this should work. Let's see what we got. Okay, so if we go over here to our app, it's Bharti's Yoga Healing Consortium, Bharti's YHC, and you pop that open, and over here from the home screen, we're actually streaming right now inside the app. So actually, if you want to keep up with these twice daily little talks that we're having here this week, you can just go right inside the app itself and you'll see all this good stuff there. So if I go to the hamburger menu and I click on action lists, just get myself out of the way. Okay, so these action lists, they're all different. Some of them are free. Metabolic Cleanse is free. There's a couple others that are free. The one I want to point you down to is the one at the bottom here, which is your guide to sadhana. That's a free one. So if you find you've got an interest in, I really want to create or enhance my spiritual practice routine. Like I really want to solidify that more. I want it to just be more rich. I've got something, but I want more out of it, and I want to put more into it. Or maybe I don't got something, but I always wanted to, or feel like I'm ready to. Check this out here, and each of these arrows, if you click there, you'll see a little bit about sadhana, and then at the bottom is an article that gives you more information all about. So that's one there, inside there. Now, we generally think of sadhana as our morning practice. So most of these resources have to do with a morning practice. And sadhana is it's literally your spiritual practice done on a regular basis. So there's morning sadhana, and then there's also evening as well. The times when the Earth's electromagnetic field is shifting, that's the time when we shift also. And so it's really helpful to us if we really want to experience ourselves as awake and alive beings, like Hugh Mun. There's that Mun again. Hugh, light, and then Mun, mind or consciousness. We want to experience ourselves as beings of consciousness, light beings of consciousness. And we do want to tune in at these times when literally the planet that we're on is having her shifts and inviting us to shift as well. That's why you'll often see regardless of the culture, regardless of any, constraints of geography or whatnot. Many meditative practices take place around sunrise and then also around sunset. Those are the times when the Earth's electromagnetic field is shifting. So inside here, you'll also see this concept of the ambrosial hours. Okay, it's called the Amrita Vela. That's basically the sweet hours, primarily about 2.5 hours before dawn. And that's when a lot of practices are done. And they lead right into that pre-dawn, into that dawn time. So you'll see some info about that, and there's an article to go along with that as well. That one's a PDF. Let me let it come up so you can see it. There we go. Okay, great. Yeah, this one was it's from Yoga Journal, and it's this concept of the ambrosial hour. So, if you like to read up on things, if you're like, I kind of want to know more. And then underneath there is Japji Sahib, which is called the Song of the Soul. This is a core recitation that is done in the morning in certain practices, and it's part of my practice as well. And you'll see the whole Japji if you click on that call to action on the bottom there. In addition to that, we've got this little something about tuning in, like, why do we tune in? What is all that about? Okay. And then there's what we call the sadhana mantras. So the sadhana mantras were put together by Yogi Bhajan as the mantras that were most determined to be the most helpful to help us refine ourselves as more and more receptive and perceptive beings. It was said to be the collection that is really going to help us in our continued evolution. Now, is there only one way? Of course not. And this is the way that I have found, and I have to say that bringing mantra practice into my life on a regular basis, on a daily basis, has truly changed. My being has changed every part of my system and continues to do so. So, of course, I got to share that with you. And all the sadhana mantras are right here. This copy is from 3HO. Happy, holy, healthy. Okay. So, with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and... So, yeah, like if you like resources, go inside the app. It's Barty's YHC, which is Yoga Healing Consortium, and you'll find some nice resources in there. Alrighty, I'm going to put this right here. And so, just gonna, by the time I'm getting into mantras, I've had my cacao, I've made peace with the material actions that I have done, and the ones that I haven't done have been moved to another portion of the construct of time and space. And then now that gives room for me, the being, to practice being. There's going to be less mental energy wasted on the worry about what was done. Was it good enough? What wasn't done? How am I gonna Losing all of that gains more opportunity. Now that mental energy can be directed at me actually experiencing myself, and also helping to cultivate myself, be the kind of person that I want to be. So by then, I'm in my PJs, I'm in bed, you might choose to sit somewhere, whatever works for you. You should be in your most comfortable place, a place of safety and vulnerability and like openness. And once you get yourself into a place like that, just kind of notice what's going on with your breath. Now, it's been running the whole time, all day long, regardless of your doing, thinking otherwise. Now you get a chance to just observe your breath. And because we're practicing letting go and freeing up some of that mental energy, and because we're practicing bringing some kind of sweetness into this routine, into this little portion of time and space, maybe observe the quality of the breath now. Perhaps there's a bit of relief to it, a bit of release to it. Perhaps you notice that there's room to breathe even deeper. And there's a desire, there's an attraction to breathe even deeper. You can notice all the parts that are actually supportive of this breath. It's not just the chest, right? Oh, my belly. My belly moves with this breath. When I relax my body a little, and I relax my mind a little, my belly can move with this breath even more. And this feels inviting. This feels like a good thing for me. I want to get used to that feeling of what is good for me, knowing what is good for me. So let me just practice here, supporting this breath, because I noticed my body saying, yes, please. I like this. I need this. And because I let go of some of that mental distress, I can not only hear my body's request, I have room to answer it in support. Notice an even deeper belly breath here. Invite an even deeper belly breath here. Dhanna, 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 Ramdas Gur. Dhanna, dhanna, Ramdas Gur. Chirsamaya tinne, Savaria, Chinasiria Tinne, Savaria, Danne, 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 Ramdas Go, Ramdas Go. Support the deep belly breath. I am supporting myself. I am responding to what I understand is good for me. Danne, 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 Ramdas Gur. Danne, danne, Ramdas Gur. Jinistriya Tinde, Savaria. Jinistriya Tinde, Savaria. Danne, 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 Ramdas Gur, Ramdas Gur. If you feel called to join, it's like a DHAN, done, done. And the Ram, instead of our usual Western Ra, the Ram is more Latin, where the tip of the tongue hits the hard palate behind the teeth. Ram, Ran, Ram, Ram. And the importance of that is the stimulation of dozens upon dozens of receptive cells in this area here. We have so many nerve receptors in the palate, especially this area here. So every time, from the dan to the ram, every time, here I am hitting those receptors. Dan, ram, das, gur. And so it's ram, das, gur. Again, the R on that gur, it hits the hard palate. So ram, das, gur. Dan, ram, das, gur. Let's give it a try. Let's sing it one more time. Danne, 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 Ramdas Gur. Danne, danne, Ramdas Gur. Jinistriya Tinne, Savaria. Jinistriya Tinne, Savaria. Danne, 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 Ramdas Gur, Ramdas Gur. So we have the ability to carry ourselves from one part of the day into the other. So that transition time that can just feel so unwelcome, you can turn it around. You can turn it into this opportunity for sweetness, for practicing release, for practicing the reality of the finite, and also connecting with our infinite self. I hope this inspires you. I hope that you find your way to bring whatever bit of sweetness however you can make peace with the things you've done and not done. And then whatever you choose to repeat in your mind to yourself as you carry yourself into this time of sleep, rest, rejuvenation, restoration. Making a habit of this, even if it's not every single day, because schedules are what they are. If you do something like this half of the week, that alone can create a tremendous improvement in your quality of daily life. Better me. And then that's the me stepping into that next day, interacting with people in my life, interacting with myself. And there's my ability to really contribute to better we. What's up, Nam? Namaste.